Alrighty, welcome. This is Michael, and I'm going to be doing a quick demonstration of some custom blocks. You may have noticed in the Compopack Discord, ZZTong made a big announcement regarding the availability of some new custom blocks to be able to use in Compopack. A lot of these are going to be basically blocks that have some sort of offset on them, so you can put them in places that you normally wouldn't. I will be contributing to this pack, and I've got a whole bunch of blocks that I'd like to do a kind of a quick demo just to kind of show you how they work and how they can be used. One of the most useful blocks that I think people will find most useful is what I call a hard air block. If you notice here, we have this huge span of concrete blocks that we all know wouldn't stand when it's in game. Right now I'm still on the prefab editor. If I go into the stability, you can see we have this huge black area, which means that this thing will collapse once it's in game or when somebody walks across it. And there's cases where you may want to have a very long span of blocks that are still stable. So what you can do here, let me go ahead and turn this off again, is to use these hard air blocks. So basically these are blocks that you can walk through. Zombies can't see it, you can't destroy it, you pretty much can't interact with it all, but it does provide structural support. So what I'm going to do here, I'll hit Z here and Z up here and use my L button to fill that in. So now I have these hard air blocks in here, and as you can see I can walk through it, and if I was in game I couldn't shoot it or blow it up or do anything. But now if I turn on my show stability and do recalc, now we can see we have support, and you can put as many of these as you want to make it even more stable. But this is just a really good trick to cause or to create things that will go longer spans. I am using these, if you're familiar with my dirigible, the OD Humanity blimp. I'm using these kind of blocks in order to keep that blimp up in the air without it appearing to have anything holding it up. So you can use these to kind of create floating type objects. So again, it's something that I think most people will find, or people will find most useful out of all these, because it's a very utilitarian. It's really good. I like it. And kind of along the same lines, I have a whole bunch of other air blocks that you can walk through and can't destroy, but they give you some sort of visual effect. Let me just go ahead and start over on this side. So these, when you're in game, if you're going into a desert or you're going into a winter biome, you can have the frost that shows up and tells you you're cold and all that sort of stuff. These do the same thing, but they don't actually cause any kind of physical impact on you, so it won't start, causing you to lose damage or stamina or anything. It's just the visual effect. Some of them are better than others. This one in particular right here, the hard air cold. There's actually two of the cold ones. This one, it's supposed to kind of put a little frost thing around the edge of your vision, but I never really see it, so I may just get rid of this one. This is the more significant one. When you walk into it, and you can see the frost showing up on the sides of your vision. Might be useful, like if you have a walk-in refrigerator or something like that. And if you want, we can even add in the buff that would actually cause you to be cold and start maybe losing damage. So if you did want to have a large walk-in freezer or something like that, then they would start taking a little bit of damage. Here we have distorted air. Again, this is a visual one. This one's pretty funky. This one cannot really be adjusted. Most of these you can adjust the extent that it'll do it, but this one kind of just has a one setting. So if you're doing like a fun house or amusement park sort of thing, that would be kind of fun to throw into one of the rooms where they'll have a hard time walking around. This one will turn everything into grayscale. Might be interesting if you want to do like a film noir type POI where everything is black and white. Maybe a what's that Marvel Wanda where she was in the old sitcoms. This one will give you the visual effect that you're in radiation. Again, it does not cause any damage to you. It's just the visual effect. Over here we have an infected effect. So this basically kind of pixelates your vision and makes it a little harder to see. And then over here we have the drunk, which is the kind of the split vision. Again, these ones can be adjusted, although you would have to create a separate buff and a separate block in order to have different ones, different levels. This one's just set up at max. And then if we go back over here, here we have, okay, this is a kind of a cool one. This one will make players and vehicles slow down when you walk through them. It does not affect zombies. It only affects players and vehicles. So when you walk across it, you notice it slowed me down, and I also added in a visual effect to kind of indicate that you're in a slow area. But once you pass through it, it'll wear off. So you can do like a whole area of this. You can put a bunch of them on a road. If you drive a vehicle over it, the vehicle kind of goes through it pretty quick. So if you just have one row of blocks, it probably won't slow them down a lot. So you'd probably want to do a larger area if you really wanted to slow down any kind of vehicles. Over here we have a tripwire, and I'm going to demonstrate this one a little bit later. It's part of this demonstration over here. Here is a shock. So this one will actually give you damage. And I will once I've gone through all these, I'll go into the play test and demonstrate these for real. But it will give you damage. And to kind of counteract that, I've created an air block that will heal everything. So it's sort of like it'll pop you into God mode and back out again. And if you have a concussion or broken legs or whatever, it will heal everything. Now this one is set up as a mine, so it's a one-time use only. So once you've activated and you've been healed up, it won't be usable again. So this might be, say you have a really, really tough POI, you have a room where they might be close to death. You could have maybe one of these in there to kind of give them a little pat on the back, say good job, you can continue on, sort of thing. Wouldn't use this too often. It's just for a POI that I've created. I've put one in there just to kind of help out the players. I'm not trying to kill them all the time. This one will create a little kind of grayscale vignette around your vision. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of hard to see, but it just kind of darkens the edge around your vision. This one will blur your vision. This one is it's the lower of the hot air, so you can kind of see the little pink tinge around the edge of the screen. This one's a little more noticeable here, again, to create that kind of hot air vision. So those are the kind of visual effects ones. Some of them will actually do damage and whatnot. Again, I'll demonstrate a couple of these other ones once we go into a play test. And you can combine these sometimes if you wanted to. So over here I have just basically some display weapon props. I've got 3 different versions. One that will sit flat on a surface right here. I just have them on a wall. This row will be basically kind of floating in the air, kind of in the middle of the block. These currently do not have any kind of collision set on them because what I originally designed these for was to serve as kind of a holograph in a kind of a sci-fi type POI. I will be modifying these so they will have collisions, and they will also be harvestable. Now you're not going to be able to harvest the actual weapon, but you'll get something like scrap metal and or maybe rifle parts or bow parts or whatever is applicable. These ones here are what I call the wonky blocks. So you can add a property onto blocks where they conform to the slope of whatever surface they are put on top of. Now, one thing with that particular property is it will kind of inset the block or the object halfway into that surface. So you can kind of see here, you have a handle or a pistol grip on the bottom of this crossbow that is all sunk in, and if you look real close here, you can kind of see that the spear is kind of halfway in. Now if I did say, like for example, the auto shotgun, you have this long extended magazine drum on it. If I drop that down here, yeah, it conforms it, but half of it's kind of hidden. So you do want to kind of try to orient these in a way where you can see what you want to see. So if I did this one, I would probably, lay it on its side, just oriented, let's say like that. So you can see most of it. Again, half of it's buried, But it's just kind of something to add into your POIs, just as something it's kind of cool. And again, so in that first original orientation, you do have the 45-degree options, so you can do those, but that's only in its original orientation to have those 45 degrees. So those are the prop weapon blocks. Again, these are going to be updated, but they are available or will be available soon, as is. But the update will be coming out relatively shortly. Another air block that I've created is the ladder air block. And basically, it's just an invisible block that you can place in front of any surface, and you're able to climb up it just like you would a ladder. Zombies can also climb up it too. They know they're there, so they will climb them as well. My intent for these ones was to kind of create a climbing wall that a person would normally be able to climb if they were in the real world. So here I have a brick wall where I've kind of thrown in some of these damaged blocks that you could, in the real life, you'd be able to maybe get some grips and climb up and work your way up. So here I've just put the ladder air blocks in front of those damage blocks, so as you go up to them you can climb up. Now you notice this one's kind of already got an inset, so I'm kind of stuck. I can't really go any further. So you do want to kind of pay attention to the orientation of the blocks you're using. But I've also got the ladder over to the side so you can slide over. I keep going up. I can't go up any further on this one because the ladder doesn't extend that far. But again, I can slide over here and work the rest of the way up to the top of the wall, if we can get up there. Like so. So that's the hard air blocks. Over here I've added a bunch of the particle effects that are in the game, and these are basically just kind of visual effects that are used by the zombies or some of the weapons and tools and whatnot. These first two are what I call the bulb blocks. So we have the vomit bulb and the radiation bulb. As you can see, they have a nice little animation, and I have them currently lit up from above and below. And the reason for this is that if you notice, I've got one light down here and one light up here. If I look up, the splatter looks orange, so it's taking on the light of the light below. But if I look down, it's turning green and it has a little bit of the yellow. So these are kind of tricky in that it will take on the light depending on what direction you're looking at. So if I turn off this top light, if I look down, it kind of has the dull color, which is its default. It doesn't have any kind of glow on its own. But if I look up, it will pick that up. If I turn both of them off and turn off my headlight, you can see it's very, very kind of dull, blah looking. So these are neat effects, but they do need a little bit of lighting in order for them to stand out a lot better. Over here we have, I don't have it in here because one of the downsides of this particular block is it's really, really loud. So this one I have is set as an offset. So let me reorient this like that. And when I place it down, it's got this very loud, sparkly thingy. Really cool, but you can hear this from a long ways away. So I would use those sparingly. Because you will be able to hear them from the other side of the POI. Now, one of the main reasons why I did this as an offset is to be able to inset it inside other objects. So let me reorient this. So now it's coming off the side, and I just have a sphere here, and I place that down. So now it looks like this ball is electric. And you can put these on all sides if you wanted to. So I just have it on the one side now. But if I reorient it from this side, I can put one over here, reorient it so now it's on this side, and then reorient it again so it's on this side, and I can put one on the top too if I wanted to. So you can have up to, depending on the block, you can have a whole bunch of these electrical blocks on the inside of it to give it a nice electrocuted type effect. But again, these are really noisy, so I'm gonna undo all of these so we can listen a little bit more carefully. Okay, over here we have another little sparkly block. This was originally called Zombie Left. There's also a zombie right. Basically, the only difference is it'll have a little shock that shoots out to one side. So what I've done is I've made one of them an offset block. So again, you can kind of inset these or put it in an area where you wouldn't normally be able to. And this one is centered within its own block itself. And this one just shoots off the spark off to the other side. You can spin these around to different directions, just like you can any other block. This one is the drone beam. I can't remember if it was like the healing beam or tack beam or something like that. Nice little laser thing. The thing with this one is it is very long and it will pass through walls, no problem. The only block it actually takes up is the spawning area. I think it goes like 16 blocks. So if you're going to put one of these in your POI, you want to make sure you kind of orient it so it's not poking through your entire area where you don't want it to. And this last one here is another little electric one. This is the same effect that you would see around your stun baton. And again, I have this one set as an offset, so you can place it in areas where you wouldn't normally be able to. So those are the particle effects blocks that I've thrown together. Moving over here, we're going into the trees. So I have two different types of trees. These are the original ones that I put together for my fallen tree mod. That would decorate the biomes with. These will only orient in the primary compass direction, so only at 90-degree angles. So if you want to have it kind of just a regular flat area, I would use one of these. They do have an offset set on them, so that in one particular direction or orientation, they look like they are more sitting on the surface of the ground as opposed to being inset, sort of like this one. But again, these ones are purely in the main orientation. Let me just go ahead and grab one of these, and you can see this one has a little bit of an offset. So if you wanted it laying down, you can orient it in a way where it looks like the log portion is sitting on top of the ground. But you can put these, again, these will only go in the primary compass directions, and you can place them down and do whatever you want to with them. These ones are what I call the wonky trees. So anything that has a ground alignment function built into them, I add on the wonky just so they're easier to find. So the weapons over here that conform to the surface, those are also tagged with wonky. So here what I've done, just to demonstrate this, along this row of terrain, the air above it, not the terrain itself, the air above it, I've increased the density. So if I do a Z here, you hit your up arrow, you can change the density and it sucks the terrain up above it. So for this row, I just move this up 12 clicks. And then on this one where the gravel is, where the tree is actually being placed upon, I only moved it up one, because you still have to have at least two. Well, let me try to explain this a little better. Because I'm placing on this one, I need to have some sort of slope on this. If I didn't move it up just one, it would just spawn flat on the ground. But because I moved it up one, it's kind of averaging these two different slopes, so that's what the tree is going to take on. So for this one, this is just the tall pine tree. If I put it up here, it's not going to do anything. If I put it on this one, because it's averaging out those two slopes, it will take on the angle. So that's something you're going to have to kind of play around with to kind of work out right. So you can adjust these. So if I made this, if I made a terrain block, excuse me, if I made this one max, so I hit Control up arrow, and I move this one over here, and I just do one. If I place my tree on this one, oops, wrong one. If I place it on that one, it's going to take basically a 45-degree angle. So you can kind of calculate to try to figure out what angle you want these to tilt at. And these also apply in whatever direction you have the tree oriented. So right now the tree is oriented vertically, so if I put this here, it's going to stick out the side. If I reorient this, if I go to my advanced rotation and I lay it on its side like so, and I put it on a sloping surface, it will take on that particular tilt. So you can play around with this and get all kinds of different orientations to cause these to tilt in whatever direction you want. And the nice thing about these is you can climb them, you can harvest them, you can chop them down just like a normal tree. So a use case scenario I thought of is, say you had a castle wall where the drawbridge was locked and there's no way to get into it. You can have this set up as the entryway for your players. They can climb up here and get to the top of the wall and enter into the castle. Or, for example, if you had a big ditch that was full of mines or whatever, or a ditch that you couldn't climb out of again, you could lay one of these trees across that ditch so the players could enter the POI. Alrighty, we've moved over into the playtest area so I can demonstrate some of these other ones that I couldn't in the prefab editor. So first off, we've got the hard air shock, and I don't have my God mode on, and this one will cause damage to you. So as I walk across it, you can see my health going down there. Let me go ahead and take this down a bit, get it out of the way, and the effect is stopped. So to counteract that, again, I've got this hard air heal mine. This is a one-time use only. So you see I've got 52 points of health left. If I walk on this, you'll hear a little click, and my health gets back up to 100. It'll also affect your stamina if you got broken bones, concussions, you name it. So I also wanted to demonstrate the tripwire one. This is, if you're familiar with some of my previous videos, I have a demo on how to kind of create a fuse type effect to cause things to explode from a long distance, and I'll provide a link to the video down below in the comments. But that's basically what this is set up. So basically I have 2 rows of small stones that were inset into the ground, and then while selected I maxed out the density so the terrain wraps around those stones. If I go into God mode here, you can see those stones in here. Now on top of that I put these tripwire blocks over the top of those. So basically what happens here is, if you have any kind of block that does not have stability support, so small stones, grass, you name it, you can play around with different things. If you stack 2 of those on top of each other and one of them has the terrain wrapped around them, if you interact with the ones that are on the upper level, the ones that are on top of the ground, they will automatically self-destruct, both it and the object that's under the ground, and it will daisy chain that reaction to any other ones that are at a 90-degree adjoining, so off to the side in the main compass directions. So basically what happens, and if you have, so over here I have a stone also underneath this barrel. So if you have anything that has kind of an explosive type function, be it barrels and barrels and vehicles, it doesn't do it for mines, but basically barrels and vehicles, they will blow up once this chain reaction kind of takes place. So I'm just going to go ahead and walk over here, walk into these blocks. You saw that kind of chain reaction, and the barrel blew up. Again, the same thing will happen if you have cars set on top of that as well. So that's just a quick demo of those particular functions that don't actually show while you're in the prefab editor. So yeah, this is the kind of what I put together so far. There will be some updates coming on, and I'll probably be adding on more and more as time goes by. So if you have any questions or even any special requests, if you want to see a special block that you might want to use or other people might want to use, just drop a note down below and we'll see what we can do. So I'd like to thank you all for joining me, and hope to see you again soon. Take care.